Hello again, lovely people. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do like and share this video, and this will be a quick update on the remote control, where we're at. We're almost there, and then just talk about a few other things. So let's just dive right in. First, note, I haven't reprinted my cover since I last did it with this crappy support that I used, but honestly guys, the best way to print both of these parts is standing straight up like that, flat on your bed. You do get support no matter how you do it, but doing it that way, you'll get the least support and only in the inside cavities of the two pieces. And then the front comes out nice, and again, pardon my bottom, that's because I used really low density fill and support. And then the back comes out really nice. Okay, so I have the entire left side wired up and the RGBs. I have not done the OLEDs yet, and I have not done this side yet. As you can see here, these are the components we have left to install, which are the two OLEDs. And then there's one other button in the back. And then this switch, two-pole, two-throw switch, I was going to use for some kind of mode switching, but I decided against it because we've got enough electronics in here already, and with some fancy coding, I can use this button to do whatever I want. Including navigate menus and this kind of thing. So, not that we probably will have a navigatable menu, but as with the PS2 remote, for those of you who've seen me use it or talk about it or have got it running on your Nova, the select button on that remote, each time you select it, sets a whole nother mode for all the controls. Then you set it to mode 2, whole nother controls. So we can do the same kind of thing with this. I was also thinking I may have used this with the battery charging system, because the way that I only do it, guys, is to charge the battery you have to not have it connected to the electronics. So this switch was basically going to switch between the two, so it would be connected and then not connected and then battery connected. So, but I don't think battery charge connected. I don't think that's the way to go. I've only done that in one or two of my projects. I think I mentioned this last time. In fact, I know I did. I don't know much about battery management systems at all. So if anybody else wants to give me feedback, Jordan gave us a couple of ideas, but I appreciate some more feedback. Not that I don't trust Jordan, but the more feedback, the better. We need a good BMS system for this type of battery, which is 4.7 volts. My choice anyway, which of course this is designed to fit that battery, so if you're going to use some other battery, you may have to make changes to your system. Then that goes into a 5-volt regulator. And then let me back up, guys. This is a 7.4 volt battery into the I got it set for 5.2 volts, the regulator, and then into a 3.3 volt regulator for our NRF unit, since it's very picky. Okay, and then that goes into the power switch, which will be this power switch, but for now right here, I have it here rather than running 2 extra wires into there. And all of this will sit in the back cavity, which I will in a second open that up. But while I'm finished talking, let's go ahead and power it on. So yeah, we just have the OLEDs left and one more switch, and then finish wiring this side. I will probably double back and clean up my plastic a little bit before I finish the wiring, but I wanted to do it as a test, get the left side wired up at least. And for now, I've just synced them all with the LEDs, the RGBs, so that we could see it working. So this one pot here is a little iffy on me. You can see that light jumping on me. Matter of fact, they both are. So I'll have to put a little more in there for my tolerance. But anyhow, we can start there so you can see these sliders work. And then back down. The other one will give us different colors going up. And then back down. And then our 2 firing buttons, we'll call them for now. Red and yellow. Yeah, see, this guy's taking over. Going to have to adjust that tolerance. The problem is, as most of you know, with pots, they don't sit at 0 exactly, so these guys are bouncing from 0 to 1, triggering my lights there and screwing everything up, so ignore that. So here's the joystick. So we have left, right, down, up, Of course, they all go in order too, so if you go in angle, you'll get both of them, 2 lights up. And then our select button down here. Yeah, these guys are really tricky with me tonight. Huh. So normally I won't check if it's 0 or not. I will add a little tolerance in my code, and I usually just give it like 5, but I think I gotta up this one up to 10. So anywhere between 0 and 10, it's still going to consider it to be 0. So that needs a little calibration. But other than that, guys, yes, that's all good to go. Everything works good. We are able to code each button now, which is pretty much already done for the moves that I have Nova performing at the moment anyhow. I'm just going to replace the calls to the PS2 remote to the calls to our new NRF communication system. Alright, so yes, I also tested out the screws and my alignment and all that, but just by putting 2 of them in, which you can see with 2 threaded inserts, worked awesome. One there, one there. And then yes, I'm still torn on how to wire. I'm going to have 2 switches back here, and that's it. And then the battery management system. So that I decided to just go with 2 barrel jack connectors. Probably I'll get smaller ones. I don't know why these look so beefy. They're supposed to be for this wire gauge, but they look kind of big. But that'll make easy disconnection if you need to separate these 2 parts fully. And I'll also shorten the wires, like this doesn't have to be that long. But I decided to go with a little JST connector here, where I took the PCB part and just shrink wrapped it to my wires. So I can actually disconnect these if I'd want to. Yes, our push button switches, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 here. So that's 6. Do need resistors, don't forget. So in this case, I just put it in line. It's right here in this ground line. And then if we look in here now at the wiring, so right side is wired, left side is not. I could bring this up here a little bit more. I've roughed in some of the wires for the left side just so I could see how it was going to be getting this plate on and off, and it wasn't bad. But yes, now that it's wired, no go, right? So I'll have to unwire. Actually, I don't have to unwire it all because I've already put these wires in there. I already have the schematic for this, so I will share that when I'm happy with the plastic, and I pretty much think I am. I think I have a slight 1 degree angle off between these 2 sides. Imagine that. Just on the front plate, so I'll have to fix that. Thank you, Tinkercad, and thanks to my buddy Jordan. This will probably be the last time I use Tinkercad for this project, guys. I've learned a lot about Fusion 360, and that's where I'm going next. So yeah, basically I popped in a secondary tiny piece of PCB here just for our ground and 5-volt plane, and I really shouldn't be touching all this. It's still live. Short something out. Yeah, and that's it, guys. I'm soldering the wires directly to the Mega, which is easy as pie. Just put a tiny bit of solder on your terminal hole, tin your wire, and I'm using solid core wire, which makes a huge difference, especially when soldering to that board. And then if you're careful enough and precise enough, I could just hold the tip of the wire right over that hole, heat it up, and pop it right through the hole. Bang, done. I wish I could show you in a little more detail here. Well, I guess that's not bad. You can see that pretty good. So yeah, it worked out good. I'm confident the wires will all be stable and not touch each other, short each other out. Should be good. Oh, and I wanted to show also what I decided to do with the NRF module. I basically just created a little pocket in this grip like I said I was going to do, and it fits perfectly. Probably won't even have to glue it in there or anything to that effect, because it snaps in there pretty good. There we go. So that worked out awesome. And hopefully, yes, our regulators, the 5-volt and the 3-volt regulator, will sit right in here nicely, and it should close up tight. I'm quite proud of this one, guys. I haven't done much for small electronics or enclosures for that matter, and it came out okay. Worst case, these flat planes right here, which are kind of useless on the back panel, as you can see, I may end up making those slight cavities. I have the room to do it without interfering with the grips. Maybe half the height of this, if that. Just so we'll have these extra cavities here to run wires. Right now it works because there's still a little bit of room here. But I think if there's too many wires here, which we should only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at most 8 wires between the two. Oh, and the NRF. So yeah, if there's too many, I think we may need a little bit of cavity space here just to make room for them. But that'll be easy enough to do. All right, guys. So yeah, that being said, let's go over to the PC and talk about a couple of things. Okay, so a few things to talk about and share with you all, especially those of you building the project. This first one being the utmost important, and then I will put timestamps in the description below if you'd like to jump ahead if any of the other topics concern or interest you. Okay, first and foremost, a lot of you have had problems when you get it all put together and boot up. Your OLED screens say display off. The problem there is, and I never even mentioned this, I don't think, which is a big mistake of mine. Trust me, I will update our documentation on assembly and usage and all that fun stuff at a later date in the near future. But anyway, what you need to do is on the Nano, I actually store these settings in EEPROM. So the very first time you fire up and load up your code, you have to right now manually flash that EEPROM. I will put that in code so it'll happen on its own going forward. But right now, for those of you frustrated, let me show you how to do that. So you'll open your NovaSM3 Nano code, whatever version it may be. This goes way back to version 4.2, I believe. First thing to do is set all 4 of your active variables to 1. And now these you will be familiar with. They're also on the Teensy, right? These same controls. Now the idea here is that we set these to EEPROM on the Nano once and forget it. And then in the Teensy code, if you want to disable any one of these, setting it there will update the EEPROM here accordingly. And then on reboot, it'll remember that setting for you in the Nano. So you do not have to keep opening this code to change these settings. You never should have to. So I digress. Set all 4 of these to 1, debug to 0, and then if you scroll down to the setup function, I actually have just put this note here explaining what I'm about to explain. So first you set debug and all switches to active, then uncomment the 2 lines below and upload the code to flash EEPROM. So these 2 lines here, I would uncomment. Obviously, the delay just gives a little delay before it goes ahead and then loads the EEPROM data, but this will save the data using those settings that you put up top. Okay, so then I say here, after the Nano finishes booting, then you comment out these 2 lines and re-upload the code again. So after you've flashed, then you want to take this out again, otherwise it'll just keep resaving all of your settings above, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so now the main Nova code running on the Teensy will set these switches according to their settings in the Teensy code. So that's it. So you have to flash your memory in the Nano first. So on first run, once again, just uncomment these 2 lines, upload it, let it boot up and run through its code. Then you can comment these 2 lines back out and upload it once again, and you'll be good to go. Okay, guys? So yeah, my apologies on that. Next, a couple of us are having issues with the MP3 player. I know I am, and it's been driving me nuts, and I think contributed to me halting this project, quote unquote, several weeks ago. Turns out it's a very temperamental device, and it seems to be all around grounding. So you all saw I had it up and running perfectly fine, and then when I took some wiring out to go ahead and put in the new PCB and wire that up, suddenly it stopped working, and I started getting these popping noises coming out of the speaker and such, and I panicked, thought it was my new board and that I did something wrong, but turns out I didn't, because many of you had no problems. You just wired up and it worked for you first time. So that got me researching, and yes, there are a lot of issues, or I should say a lot of potential solutions. For some guys, grounding both ground terminals. If you look at the pinout, There's actually 2 ground terminals. Some guys have grounded both, and then some have explained on certain models these 2 pins are already grounded to the chassis of the SD card, so grounding 1 is sufficient. A lot of people are putting, which we commonly do, resistors on the RX line. Some are even doing an RX and TX line. DF Robot themselves here suggest, where did I see it? Right here, putting a 2K resistor on the RX line, and they don't have one on the TX line, nor are they using both ground or anything special there. So I don't know, guys. I really think it could have to do with our power supply being so close to our MP3 terminal on the PCB board, which I think I could show here really quick. Yeah, so this is the MP3 terminal block, right? The JST connector, and right there we have the incoming battery voltage. So that's potentially 12 volts, and then we have the 6 volt and ground here. So I first thought that all of this was causing interference. However, I foregone using, or foregone, that's probably not a word, but I skipped using this terminal block and just wired up directly and didn't even put my power connected to any of this, and the problem still existed. So something fishy is going on. Again, it's not with this board, because several of you, in fact, somebody just sent me a video today of how they just received their board, wired it all up last night, fired it up today, and it was even speaking German. He went ahead and changed some of the MP3 files. So yeah, it's not the board. It's definitely a ground issue. As you can see, there's a bunch of forum posts in different forums. This guy even went ahead to say that he unsoldered a 0 ohm resistor that's on the board and then hardwired pin 1, blah, 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 and that seemed to work for him. So I don't think anybody has a solid answer. I think it's a hit or miss, trial and error, but it definitely seems to be a ground issue. As anybody knows, with audio, the slightest bit of interference could cause trouble. So you can see here, this guy forgetting to ground both ground pins, forgetting to put 1K resistors on TX and RX, which is a little unusual, and then power fluctuations, they think too, could cause noise on the lines. So I still don't have an answer. I still don't have mine working. Peculiarly enough, if I go ahead and breadboard this with any Arduino board or a Teensy board, I can't get it to work, no matter what wiring I do, no matter what resistors I do. But here's the funny thing. There is a way to run this thing standalone with no breadboard, no microcontroller, and all you have to do is ground out a couple of these pins to make it advance to the next track and play a track. If I do that, it works fine. So therefore, I know it's not the board, or at least I know it's not the board regarding its control functions. Perhaps somehow I fried the RX or TX line. I do not know, but here's another caveat. I have 2 of these boards. I went ahead and bought a second one, and still nothing, guys. Now, when I first got this a few months ago, I think Steffi had mentioned this player to me, and I picked one up, hoping it would work out great for the system, for Nova. And day one, from opening the package, wiring up, it worked great. Yes, the MP3 files, naming them was a little tricky, but once I got that down, it worked fine. Got it in Nova, it worked fine. But since I last unwired it, it has not worked again. Okay, guys, so also Jordan has done some amazing work on this 3D modeling within Fusion 360. And there is a Fusion 360 viewer, which you guys will be able to use, what he's showing here in the background as I'm talking over his video. And he's just going to show the controls here a bit. And so without even having Fusion 360, from what I understand, you'll be able to use this tool. If you do have Fusion 360, hurrah for you, because now you'll even be able to import these models into 360 and do with as you wish. He's made a lot of tweaks and fixes to them. He's even gone ahead and taken this here a step further. Look at this walkthrough version here, guys. He's actually navigating, walking around inside of Nova right now. Pretty cool. As you can see, he went ahead and did the whole PCB board with all of our hardware. And this video we're watching here is at least a week old. He's done a bit more work, even down to adding all of the nuts and bolts, guys. So, yeah, can't say thank you enough, Jordan, again. This should be ready soon, I would think. There are a few pieces of the plastic that I have to make updates to, or he and I combined, and get that done and make sure they're all tip-top shape and ready to go. And we will be releasing this to everybody soon. He's even going to, which I think is a great suggestion, rename a lot of the files so that things are less confusing. As a lot of you know, those files were the original name from the original creator of this model. Okay, so yeah, as he goes through the rest of this, I have one more thing to talk about. So as far as the future of Nova, I mean, so many of you are so excited and have so many plans and so many ideas for this project that, as you probably remember, I started to feel kind of overwhelmed by it all, and therefore I think I'm going to let the community do with it as it may and call an end of my leadership, at least in the project, by the end of this version. So once I finish this remote control, once I finish her walking gates, once Jordan and I have tweaked all this plastic and got everything working great, all electrical problems, not that there are any, just an MP3 player like I talked about, and look at this section view, guys. That's going to be so awesome for any of you who want to try and re-engineer some of the parts to make them stronger or stiffer or have you. That's a cool tool. And then next he's going to just show you how to navigate all the parts and the exploded view, which is pretty amazing too. Let's just watch that for a second. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh, guys? All right, so yeah, so like I said, I am going to do what I intended with this project in the first place, which was just to build a quadruped robot with a few sensors on it, a little bit of interactivity, and a few walking gates. And yeah, I'm almost there with the end of that goal of mine. So when I do, I will call it probably NovaSM4 maybe, but I may just stop at 3. Version out the software and call it a day. At that point, if I probably already know who I'm going to hand the reins over to as far as the GitHub goes, and I'll maintain the website if you'd like me to, but I will still be involved with the project. I'll still be part of the community, but I don't think I will be probably making videos or anything like that anymore, because honestly, guys, I'm ready to move on to a new project soon, I think. Not that I'm bored with Nova, but I have a strange psyche that doesn't sit still for very long. So, yeah, this project is coming up on, I think it'll be a year in November, right about when I got my 3D printer. Maybe a little later than that. If we look at the videos, I was probably 2 months into it when I posted the first video, I think, which was in January maybe. So, yeah, about November I started it. So that will probably be my absolute due date. Come the year anniversary, she better be walking. The remote control will be done and all fully working, and all electrical stuff and structural things done and set for. All right, guys. So, yeah, I thank you all for taking part in this project. Let's finish it up together, and then I look forward to seeing what everybody comes up with. For those of you who don't know but are building the project, you should join the Discord server, which is linked below in the description, as well as the website, because there are a lot of people kicking around a lot of ideas and actually pursuing a lot of those ideas. Anything from a head that's been moved up to the top and actually on motors so it can move and rotate. Camera in the front. Somebody's talking about LiDAR. There are a couple of other sensors. People want to do pressure sensors in the feet, possibly. So there's a lot going on in there. So check it out if you're interested. All right, what else? Yes, I really want to update this. We have the instructions here, which pretty much came off of the Instructables site that I built, which isn't the most detailed of a build instruction. So things like the Nova EEPROM code that I just mentioned to you all, I think I'm going to add a page here of tips and tricks or something to that effect. They're not really tricks, but things to watch out for, caveats like that I don't have in the documentation, and probably you wouldn't find in a video even if I did mention it, because it's such a small thing, but important. And then, yeah, lastly, whoever's not joined the website yet and is building Nova, please, by all means, do and upload some photos and videos. I would love to see the army of robots that we create out there. I know there's, my guess is at least probably 20 of you building this project, and I only see 2 or 3 here, guys. So come on, join the community. And then I want to give special and immense thanks to everybody for shopping off of my Nova affiliate links here for Amazon. We've made a few bucks to help Nova progress, and as well as ordering the PCB from PCB Way there too. I've made a few bucks, and some of you have donated. So that's so awesome, guys. With all that little bit of cash flow going in, it's at least pays for all the plastic, because in my next video, when I finish the remote, I will show you what I go through, at least when it comes to prototyping, and how many junk remote shells I have that are ready for shredding up and reusing and recycling. Because dare I throw all that in a landfill. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, hats off again to Jordan, because he gave me quite a number of tips on using my skills in Fusion 360 instead of wasting it all in Tinkercad. And I think I have a knowledge enough now to be dangerous, and my next project should come out pretty damn well the first 2 or 3 revisions instead of revision after revision after revision. Okay, guys, I think that's all I had to mention and wanted to talk about. So again, thanks to everyone for sharing, subscribing, donating, affiliate linking, and building this project along with me, most importantly. I will be back with more fun videos coming, and not so much talk and web browsing, but let's get Nova back on her feet in the next coming month or so. All right, everybody. Talk to you all soon. Take care of yourselves.